One day I will get a gun that fits on my bench nicely for a review. Everything is just too long for this bench. In the next month or so, Commander Elite are going to be hosting a sort of World War II style D-Day sort of big full sight game. And whilst there's not going to be any requirement for turning up in any sort of period gear, you can wear what you want and use what you want, I wanted to dabble in a World War II loadout. It's not really my sort of era. I prefer more modern loadouts, that sort of thing, and I'm not especially keen on Axis loadouts. And I wanted to use a submachine gun build and sort of maybe a sort of saboteur behind enemy lines, special forces sort of thing. And I also wanted to fly the flag a little, so I got myself this AGM STEN Mark II AEG. Yes, there are gas STENs, but I don't like the STEN that much. But there is no more iconic of a British weapon from the Second World War than the STEN submachine gun. The external construction of the AGM STEN is lovely. The exterior of the STEN feels like it's entirely made of steel, although the pole here for the stock doesn't feel as magnetic, but I doubt it's aluminium because it's been welded onto the butt plate and also onto the anchor point here. It's got a bit of wobble here and there, but it is a STEN, and it doesn't weigh as much as what I was expecting. It's only 2.5 kilograms, which is 5.4 pounds. And the mags feel nice as well because, again, they are made of what I think is steel. Yep. That is steel too. Now, it's a little bit bigger than what I was expecting it to be, but it is also still quite compact. If we measure it here, you're going to have to take my word for it because I can't get it all on frame. It's around 77 centimeters long, which is around about 30 inches. And yes, it doesn't come with a suppressor normally. This is something I've just done to make it into a Mark IIs, but it's still the same length as what it would be normally, but it definitely adds to the look, and I was umming and ahhing about it. Then I put up a poll on YouTube, and within a couple of hours, yeah, everyone said do it. So there we are, I've done it. And if we start at the muzzle end, we have no real threads apart from this little end cap. Ignore the suppressor cap, I'm talking about the end cap of the outer barrel. If you take that off, it's got like a 12mm female thread in for some reason. Don't really know what you're going to do with that. I think you'd have to get one of those gas pistol suppressor adapters and screw it into the end, but I don't know what the point of that was. I suppose so they can screw an orange tip on easily if they're manufacturing it for the Americans. The inner barrel is quite long, goes from about here to there. I'd say it's round about 229, that's the standard size of barrel. And the barrel seems to be a standard AEG part. It doesn't seem to have any sort of silly cratering and crowning or whatever you want to call it on the end of it. And I reckon if you chucked in like a Mad Bull 603 type bore in this thing, it would be an absolute monster. Now, I did have to take this apart actually to change the spring on it because it was slightly too powerful, so I cut a couple of coils off and bent the spring with a blowtorch. And whilst I was at it, I checked the hop unit and I actually changed the bucking. The bucking was fine, but it was covered in grease, and I had a G&G bucking, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to put in a decent bucking. I don't really want to have to keep taking this thing apart. I did test it completely out of the box and it shot okay, but it could do a lot better. But it is a STEN, I suppose. Back to the externals, I've wrapped the handguard in scapper tape. In reality, they would use either canvas or leather gloves because this is how you would hold it. You don't want to hold it by the mag, and of course this bit gets hot, so they would wrap it in canvas so they didn't burn their hands. And I really don't understand how people got onto the idea of holding these by the mags. It's not especially ergonomic. You know, you end up with your wrist bent at a weird angle. It's silly. It's not natural. It'd be easier just to hold it like that, you know, or hold it, you know, how you're supposed to by the handguard. Now, the handguard is only held in with one screw, which is actually obscured by the scapper tape right now. And this was loose out of the box, and I had to really tighten up that screw to stop it wobbling. I would appreciate it if they could put in some extra fixings elsewhere to stop it doing that. But I mean, it is a STEN. The mag well, of course, is on the left-hand side, and your mag catch is located here, not this bit here. And it doesn't look especially mag catchy, but I find it works all right. It's a bit counterintuitive because most mags have the feed pipe on the front, so I might make a mark on the back of the mag just to know that I've got to have that bit facing towards me. Takes a bit of a slap as well to lock it in, but there you go. Of course, the mag well is located on the left-hand side, and what you can do is if you pull out this mechanism here, without a mag in, you can actually stow it away into a stored position, and the mags won't fit into it whilst it's stowed away, unfortunately. It can take a good whack to load the mags into place, probably because it's a STEN. The mags I've got, including the one it comes with, are 50 round low caps, or at least I'd argue they're low caps. I mean, the real mags held like 32 rounds, but 50 rounds, 32 rounds, it's more or less the same thing in Airsoft. And apparently these are also compatible with MP40 AEGs. So this means I can use my mags in an MP40 in the future if I do decide to get one. Fat chance of that. You can also get 120 round mid caps for this thing, but I wanted a bit more realism, a bit more of a challenge. I don't tend to reload that often in Airsoft because I don't tend to fire that many shots. And I've got 6 of these mags, including the one which came with the STEN. So that'll be 300 rounds total, plus any ammo I decide to carry in pouches or bottles or what have you. Now, the hop unit on this thing is somewhat proprietary, but it does appear to accept normal AEG buckings, nubs and barrels. Now apparently this is supposed to be a fixed hop unit, and when I stowed the mag well away, I couldn't help but notice there's a little grub screw in there. And I found out that it can be modded to be adjustable. And it may be a STEN, but it's got a bloody TDC in it out of the box, which for an AEG is quite a rare thing. And the irony is not lost on me that whilst AGM were trying to make a fixed hop unit, they ended up making the best type of hop unit you can get. Now you do have to do a tiny bit of filing on the hop chamber itself, so that way the hop arm can get enough travel to get the pressure you need. Put a slightly bigger grub screw in as well because I needed the extra travel. This hop unit is incredible. It seems to work really well. It's relatively easy to adjust. You do have to be careful with TDCs because it doesn't take much to overdo them and jam them.
I'm surprised I hit you. That was quite a ways away.
And it did round about 360 FPS out of the box on the 0.2. So I cut a couple of coils off the spring, and that was enough to get it to about 295 on 2.5s when I last checked. So round about 330. The gearbox this thing uses is a slightly modified version 7 gearbox, and I found that this thing was quite easy to take apart too. There's no selector either. It's literally just full auto. And even though this is full auto only, the fire rate on a 7.4 volt LiPo is perfectly manageable.
Right, he's down.
And this is your safety here. A little shelf for your trigger finger. Doesn't move at all, it's just there to stop your finger slipping off onto the trigger. I don't know if this on the real thing actually does anything. It could even be a sling mount for all I know, but there you are. I call it a safety. Crude? Yes. Probably because it's a STEN. Battery changes aren't going to set any battery changing speed records. You have to take this bolt out here, which allows you to slide the stock downwards. And then there's a little plus head here, which you need to remove to take the end cap off, as I shall now demonstrate. There we are, and that's your battery compartment right there. And there was a review recently where I said that I have a habit of buying guns with bugger all battery space. No comment. I wired this thing to Dean's as well because that is my preferred battery connector, and annoyingly there is no fuse either. It would be nice to put one in there. I might do so because there's a lot of metal work to short out against, a lot of places for wires to get pinched. Charging handle, I'll be honest with you, it's a bit pants. It's not spring loaded, it's literally just like a metal shutter which moves back and forth over the top of the gearbox. And in reality, the safety would be located here. You would lock that up in place. I can appreciate why there's no spring to make it reciprocate. There's really not much space inside this thing. I also wrapped the grip in scapper tape as well. You have a sort of black metal flag with a, well, it's not a thumb hole. I used to think it was a thumb hole, but it's not. But I wrapped it in scapper tape because it was quite sharp and it was just digging into my hand. But you hold it like that, with your finger on the trigger like that. You don't put your bloody thumb through because you will just bloody break it if you trip over. And the trigger is somewhat straight. I mean, there you go. There's a straight trigger that doesn't look shit. I quite like it as well. I'm not too fussed about the trigger pull. I'm going to keep the stock off to make this a bit easier for the rest of the review, but I've had to put the end cap back on to show you the sights. You've got a front, post and rear aperture. And these sights are incredibly crude, and I'll try and line them up as best as I can. Very crude, can't be zeroed, and they can't be adjusted, and I really like them. In reality, they're probably more of just a token gesture than anything else, but I found that the zero on this thing is pretty much perfect. I mean, the elevation is slightly low, especially when you get the hot bounce kicking in, but I found that you put the sights, you know, about halfway up the target and fire a burst, you'd hit them no problem.
One down.
And if you can't hit them, just change your aim and fire some more. This isn't exactly the most precise airsoft gun. After all, it is just a STEN. And when it came to the accuracy and range of this thing, granted I have changed the bucking, it was very, very respectable. In fact, I'd call it pretty damn good.
You know, that actually shoots really well. And it's actually more or less down the iron sight. The occasional one rolls out, I'm not sure why.
And because of that, it's perfectly usable. I didn't find that I had to change my playstyle that much. I tend to like sticking to longer range firefights and choosing my moments rather than just getting stuck in the middle. I'm not fast enough for that, I'm not quick quick enough for that sort of thing, as in physically fast enough and mentally fast enough. And this thing did the job just fine. What I will say is 50 rounds, they go in a hurry. They don't go a long way. But I do enjoy the challenge, and it forced me to do a few more reloads as well, which always look good on camera, that sort of thing. And to get around to the lower ammo count, you just got to recognise when you should engage and when you just need to wait a little. And yes, I did change the bucking, but I reckon if you cleaned up the stock bucking and used that as well as modifying the hop unit so it can be adjusted properly, it would work fine. So I strongly recommend you modify the hop unit. It is well worth it. It doesn't take much effort. It's really not difficult to take apart either. It is absolutely worth it. You've got a TDC in a STEN. That is the most oxymoronical thing I've ever heard. You've got an incredibly stable and accurate hop unit in a frigging STEN. This AGM STEN is a very fun little gun to use. The externals are absolutely gorgeous, and the internals are very good too. And with a little bit of modding, this thing becomes a very effective close to mid-range SMG. Granted, it looks better when you got it bolted together, but then again, if you wanted to do a resistance loadout, leave the stock off. You know, you got even shorter sort of thing that you can hide down your trouser leg and all that sort of thing. And it sounds so weird, but this thing is probably more accurate than the real STEN. What can you expect, really? It is a STEN after all. If you found this review helpful, then please make sure you leave a like, and if you've got any further questions, then make sure you leave them down in the comments. If you want to support what I do, then make sure you check out fulcrumairsoft.com and Fulcrum Airsoft on Colts 3D. And if you want to be part of the channel, then please make sure you subscribe too. And it must be said, it is a breath of fresh air to be reviewing a good airsoft gun, because my last review wasn't exactly as glowing. If you want to see why, you can check out that review right here. If for some reason you want to see me get really like ranty and grumbly about an airsoft gun.